I like to reflect um, my own journey so that if it has any inspirational value for younger people, that is good. It's a good thing. Yeah. I must start from where I think the journey began. It's a slow journey in the sense it has been a search for many, many years. But the journey began with my failing in community medicine examination. So I had 6 months to spend uh, alone, in the sense, already I like to be part of the herd, the class group, but now I had to develop my agendas on my own. So, so at that time, I was mentored by Ravi Narayan. He was the tutor. Mentored in the sense he gave me materials to read and spend time. And he, well, let me say, he was one of those people who took interest and spent time. Yeah. Now, focusing on myself, I started being inspired on reading about certain alternative models like Aroles, the Jamkhed. I remember meeting Ivan Illich when he came, a historian who wrote about he criticized the medical system, mainstream medical system, wrote the book called Limits to Medicine, where he seemed to be very scientifically challenging, what is really the contribution of mainstream medical system. Is there not a lot of hype and iatrogenic problems created by the system? Now, this aspect I continue to reflect on during my senior housemanship in medicine, internal medicine, because at that time in St. Martha's Hospital, it was a basic 4 specialties, and we had, let us say, on a rough estimate, half the clients, half the patients were with acute problems who could be responded to by the medical system. But the other half were chronic systemic problems: kidney, chronic liver, chronic lung, chronic heart. And I felt as a senior houseman, whatever we were doing, was it making really appreciable difference in their life and health? I wasn't really sure. So it seemed to fit in with what Ivan Illich is saying, that we are just doing or following what is called as the line of management, and some small, tiny, incremental benefit. But is it really the right approach? Is it making real change, real benefit, etc.? These were questions in my mind. There were no answers, though. So after finishing this housemanship, I was also unsure how to proceed further, because I had to then enter into a career. Till housemanship is training, but after that I have to enter into career. I was, at one level, I was diffident personally. That has been one of my issues, which I hope I'll get time to share later, about getting into the rat race, qualifying for post-graduation, and those kind of steps. On the same side, I had these questions within me that was bugging me. And these questions I, of course, could not discuss with my own parents, because they found it very difficult to align with my way of thinking. So I decided to give myself some time, go and search where alternative health explorations are happening. And at that time also, there were a few happening in South India. So I went to Ambalikai. It's a Christian mission. I spent some time in their community health program, which had where I was responsible for the mobile clinics going into the rural setup, and I spent 3 months there. But this kind of exploration answers don't come very fast, especially when a person like me who is diffident in making decisions. Then I went to Rusa for a short time. Rusa is a rural project of CMC Velo. There was a different angle there. It was extension of health and developmental initiatives. Finally, I ran out of steam because my saved up money had finished by then. And of course, I wouldn't be supported by my father for these explorations because he would definitely think the quicker I stopped these and got into the regular mainstream. So eventually, somebody pointed me to the group called Search. And their apprenticeship in development, a 1-year apprenticeship. And it just seemed like the right thing for me. I needed a group to guide me, and I needed a little bit of finance to keep myself going. And since I was exploring, and I would say a lot of my route experiences came in during that period also. So search was very valuable because it was a group who was searching together, young people. And we had inputs from resource groups from various backgrounds. And we debated among ourselves, and we had 3 months each at a time to exposures and working hands-on experiences, etc., and rural development programs. Well, what I can say is, as I got further and further such explorations, my clarity began to develop that what is meaningful for me lies in the alternative sector, alternative stream. I saw a lot of relevance in what I was seeing and hearing. So it became increasingly difficult to think of coming back into mainstream. Though my father very much wanted me to do a post-graduation, regular post-graduation, and get into regular work. So that was a point of conflict. Plus, I could not accept at this stage to come back. I needed to spend now more time in the alternative field. And I spent 2 years as a medical officer with one of the pioneering community health program in Kanyakumari, Kotar Diocese. At that time, it was one of the early ones. There, of course, I was responsible for training of health workers, for their field supervision, for a small clinic. And I found meaning in that. A lot of young people with whom I had to give some leadership. Simultaneously, I was aware that there were some personal issues in me. My tendency to be a loner, even in the midst of people. My tendency not to be happy, whereas my colleagues seemed bubbling and happy. I was a serious-minded person, but did not find the capacity to be happy, though I was doing things that made a lot of sense here and meaning. Now, that is the next phase of my life, where I would say which opened up the pathways for my what I consider my field of contribution. Yeah. Yeah. So I was talking about joining a psychotherapeutic community, Atmashakti Vidyalaya. Um, of course, I got in touch with them because of a relative's need. Then, when I interacted with the group, I felt there is something I myself can get for my personal growth, emotional growth here. And I joined that community. That was a long journey because, I presume, any pioneering alternative stream work sometimes has some controversies connected to it. And this group eventually had some controversies. But for me, here was a group that was specifically working on the emotional growth of individuals. And I had to take a contract that uh, I will be supporting the rules of the community, meaning I will observe, I will be alert, I will confront what I see as inappropriate, and I will accept confrontation. I will be part of the various activities of the community. Of course, apart from the fact that here I have my image, self-image of myself coming from being a doctor, etc., all that had to be cast aside to be one of this community member and learn quite a lot of things. I'll say this has been a great benefit because we are born into our own families and immediate culture, and those values one finds very difficult to question and find something new. And in this context, I did that. It took me some years. I'm not going to go into the details. But in order to change some of the unhealthy aspects in me, I chose to change some of my values. And that because it has benefited me, it's not like magic immediately, but it began to help me to make life work, the external world work. So in that process, I was quite sure that the issue of mental illness or mental health is very different from what the mainstream dialogue is about. The dialogue of using, the dependent on drugs and how that can change, etc., etc. I recognized and through personal experience learned that facing stress, changing one's beliefs, faulty beliefs that don't work for oneself in various situations, learning to trust people given all the risks involved, developing relationships, whatever is needed to, from one's own side, to build the relationships, and to cut through what are called games that one tends to play. These are not easy learnings, quite often, painful through confrontations and such things. But I was clear that it is my life and only I can own my life, so I needed to go through that process. Well, so I'm very clearly positioned myself that mental health is possible for everyone, and it has very little to do with what is promoted in the mainstream discourse. It has a lot to do with relationships, with emotional ability to express and deal with the emotions, uh, being responsible to oneself and to the group. So there are many things, and I will not get into those details, but I'm very clear that the two aspects are very different, and the way of promoting are also quite different. This is the inspiration for me in my work in the last 7 years, because I got an opportunity to work with community mental health, and I've been giving leadership in that group. A lot of ideas which have come from personal experience, I'm able to test out and get buy-in from my team members and to implement it. And I do find that there is a lot of results, meaning, positivity in that line of work. So I'm going to make effort to be a shorter version of what I was saying earlier. So my career pathways, which has been in the almost fully in the alternate stream, has had at least three significant turnings, which were choices I consciously took and which has continued to lead me further and further in the alternate stream until presently, where I find that I'm most meaningfully located in the area of community mental health. So, of course, starting point is at the end of my medical studies. I had to face the failure of having lost in one subject, whereas all my colleagues are moving ahead and making successes in life, and I felt at one level I'm not built for success. At another level, I also had many questions in me. At this time, I had the mentoring opportunity from Ravi, who was a tutor in St. John's, who took interest. I think he has the personality to take interest in people and spend time. And so I started to reflect on alternative health pathways like Jamked. Later on, the historian Ivan Illich's speech challenged me very much about the limits to what modern medicine system can do. And I decided when I finished my senior housemanship, because I was seeing in the wards and in my work with the clients that at least 50% of the chronic patients that were there in the wards, we were not doing anything significant for them. Marginal, and even that too questionable. So I had decided that I would like to see what else is possible that is a contribution, a genuine contribution that I can make in the medical field. So I started looking around on my own for alternative work in community health. I have been part of many such groups. A few important ones. One is the Kotar Community Health Program, a pioneering program where I worked for 2 years, hands-on, and experienced some of the involvement with the health workers, their training, their supervision in their field, interacting with community, etc., etc. And I got the opportunity to go to Kotar through the search program called Apprenticeship in Development, a pioneering program that was run by Valli Session and John Staley. That was a very important experience for me, because a group of us, young people, who were searching for meaning in their life, they were brought into a batch, and we had inputs from experts who also had an alternative way of thinking, and we were placed in different projects, specializing in various things, and that's how I came into the Kota Health Program. But whenever, through my searches, whenever I came to Bangalore to touch base, it was with Ravi, Thelma, and Community Health Cell that was, that had initiated at that time. So this was like an oasis for me, because in other locations, in professional groups or in family groups, I was not I didn't feel I was understood. I was feeling that in professional circles, I will be probably pitied. Oh, poor fellow, doesn't know what he's doing. So here was a setup where I could speak about my aspirations, my frustrations, and people who were in similar search in the alternative. It was a meaningful association. Later on, I joined part-time with SOCHARA for some years. Also worked with many other groups. And I also want to touch upon the most significant experience, foundational experience in my life, and that is at the psychotherapy community called Atma Shakti. Like I said, I was aware both at a conceptual level, certain unclarity in me, as well as at emotional level. Emotional, as I was moving around, working in various situations, I found that I was doing meaningful things, but didn't make me happy to the extent I wanted to be. I still continue to be a loner in the midst of people. Relationship development was still an issue for me. So I joined Atma Shakti. I came to know through family contacts. I joined. And that has been, like I mentioned, a foundational experience, because I was challenged to look at a lot of my values, beliefs, behaviors, also expression of feelings. Though it was quite painful, in one way, one was stripped bare of all the artificial masks or images one holds. So the experience of the psychotherapeutic community, lived in experience, I learned that mental health is quite different from what it is made out to be in the medical parlance, in the mainstream discourse. That it has got to do with trust, it has got to do with relationships, it has got to do with responsibility taking, it has got to do with decision making for oneself, uh, and many such similar areas. Basically, the uh, beliefs and values that works to make things work in the world, the ability to deal with feelings in different context situations, the ability to make meaningful relationships, and behaviors that are conducive for that. So this learning became part of me, and later on it has contributed to the significant work I'm doing in the field of community mental health. Because later on, about 10 years ago, the group called Basic Needs India invited me to be part of that group. And since 7 years, I'm full-time and in leadership position. And I believe a lot of path-breaking work with both mentally ill persons, poor mentally ill persons in rural and urban areas, as well as in promoting positive mental health we are able to do. And it is not institutional. It is deinstitutional in the community context. Thank you.